Welcome back to this spooky episode, this spooky Grove. Welcome back in the Grove. I'm Ace.
I'm Tori.
Hi
Uh,
guys, I'm Augusto.
yeah, Augusto, you're looking a little worse for wear there.
Yeah,
you,
just
you
a little
good?
bit.
This is what migraine studio.
Oh, yikes.
Oh no. Oh
And
no.
what's that on
Come
your
back from the
teeth
dead.
there, Ace? You're looking a little.
It's some apple juice. Not apple juice. It's some grape juice.
I was gonna say that's
It's-
really dark
yeah.
for apple juice. That's usually like yellow.
Yeah.
It's just a little
Um,
juice.
You might need a napkin. Use that cape of yours.
I would not. Yeah,
You're pale there.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of like the blood strained fully out of you. A little pale. You feeling all right?
Yeah.
Are
You're
a little
also
sick?
pale, bitch.
I'm always pale, okay? I
You're
don't go
paler than
outside.
me.
This is the only
You're
time I
lost
go outside.
melanin.
Oh,
You're even whiter than usual.
I lost my melanin.
he's been whitewashed.
No.
I guess it's more so
My
green
body.
washed because now you're green.
I'm like a lime green.
Guys, I did not whitewash the cast of Into the Grove. I promise.
Well, anyways, this week's topic is
It's kind of just a
Unsolved
clusterfuck of
mysteries. Yeah.
topics. It's pretty much anything spooky.
Guys, you guys get to hear my hyperfixation of cults.
Oh god.
The second one is serial killers, but we're not going to talk about that right now. That's too much research. We need something quick.
That one's for another episode.
Yeah.
Wait, can
What?
we add serial killers as one
Yes.
of these
Yes, we can.
topics?
Yes, we
And
can.
cults, and town disappearances, and
Every topic we discussed before this recording.
and murder cases.
God.
Look, I haven't added any. These are the first ones I've added.
I feel like that's a lie,
on.
but go off.
I don't remember the rest, so they don't count. This
You
is
guys,
a joke, by the way.
You guys will get
had
to
a
hear
great-
about my fascination with
still
like urban
hasn't
legend and
come.
creatures.
Okay.
Also with the Appalachian Mountains, if I'm saying that correctly, which I hope I am. If I'm not, I'm sorry. I'm just a girl.
We're trying. But this week we're doing a little bit more of a chosen topic because it is Halloween. We're
Hopefully when we put this up, it's Halloween.
it'll
Otherwise we lied to you and it's the next day.
yeah. And we wanted to do some spooky topics for the occasion because who doesn't want to get spooky?
There was a vote, but it ended up in a three-way tie, and that's why it's kind of all over the place topic-wise.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. There was a three-way tie between the topics of true stories / hauntings, unsolved cases, and cryptids. So I kind of just said, let's just do whatever that kind of falls under any of those categories.
Yeah.
And I didn't follow it.
I got outvoted on No Sleep.
I don't wanna
Yeah,
do
you
it.
did. By both of us, we both placed it
Yeah.
as last.
Yeah,
It was an odd voting
Anyways.
system, guys. It's fine.
it was. Anyways, let's get started.
Okay,
Let's go
right.
first.
I'll start with a little spooky tale for you guys. I'm gonna paint the scene, okay? I'm gonna write down the timestamp first. Okay. So picture this. You're driving down a street surrounded by woods. All of a sudden, you see a deer. Your headlights stop on a deer standing in the middle of the road. But something about this deer is a bit off. You don't know quite what, but it just gives you this bizarre feeling that it's unnatural, that there's something wrong with this deer. It turns to look at you, and that's when you see it. The eyes are on the front of its head, like a predator. You come to realize this deer is in fact Aced deer. Kidding.
Yeah.
Kidding. This deer is in
Rah!
fact a knot deer. The knot deer is a creature from Appalachian type folklore / native indigenous folklore. And it's commonly categorized by just something about the deer is unnatural, whether it's wildly disproportionate, with just legs that are too long, a neck that's too long. Something about its proportions is just not right. Some people have said it has the proportions of a moose. Or there's something wrong with the joints. Whether there's too many joints, it's bending its legs in ways that it shouldn't be able to. Or too few joints. The legs are rigid, not bending. Those are some common that's common ways that the knot deer is described. People also say that oftentimes the joints bend backwards. One major thing is that it has the eyes of a predator. Instead of having the eyes on its side, on the side of its head, it has them on the front, much like a predator was, because prey animals have eyes on the side of their heads typically, which most deer do, but not the knot deer, because it's not a deer. Go figure, it's called the knot deer. Who would have guessed? But as far as I could find, they're not necessarily aggressive. They're not going to attack you. They're just gonna very much disturb you. They're creepy as hell. And I got some stories of people who ran into some. So I'm gonna read them. They're short. They're off of a Reddit thread on r/Appalachia about the knot deer stories. Alrighty. Hold up. I also have some explanations behind the knot deer that we'll get into after the stories. Okay. So here's one by Mage of the Mist. Hey, so I grew up in North Carolina, and we always had deer on our property, and deer hunting was incredibly common in my town. I definitely know people who had experiences with the knot deer, or the Deor, Deor, not the brand, as they are sometimes called. I've heard it all. It was so human, and it had arms. It walked like a person, and there was something wrong about its face. But by far the creepiest ones are the ones where you can't tell what's wrong with it until you can't see it anymore. The most common comment that I've heard was, it looked me in the eyes, and I just knew that it wasn't a deer. I got scared and I ran, and after I got back to the path, I realized that all its limbs were, / its head was on backwards. I've seen people come tearing out of the woods hyperventilating plenty of times, but I've only had one experience personally. I was looking for Holly with my brother, but he ran back to the path to grab a bucket because his hands were full, and I was alone. There was a deer, maybe 15 to 20 feet away. I squatted down and got quiet because I thought it was a baby deer and I wanted to watch it. But then it stood up and I knew something was wrong. I have never been so scared in my life. My brother came running back, and he saw it too, for just a second before it ran off. And then it hit me that the deer I saw had too many eyes, and its legs were just a little bit too long, and maybe backwards. I recently moved to Bridgewater, Massachusetts, which has its own set of wild cryptids, but the knot deer does not seem to be a thing here. Well, that's one description of them. So they're creepy. They're creepy little things. They're not aggressive, but they're spooky.
They're little freaks.
Yeah. By the way, you guys should put the music on that I sent in the chat.
I did.
Music. Yeah, we should put that in the background for the episode.
That's what I'm planning.
Okay, yeah.
Why do you think I gave it to you?
Wait,
I'm
Tori,
sorry.
doesn't it pick up your background noise?
Maybe a little. Why?
I'm only asking because if you put that on.
Oh, no,
Well,
it
you can
shouldn't
also
pick up that. That would go through my headphones.
Okay.
It shouldn't pick up my headphones unless I put my headphones right next to my mic, which I don't.
Okay.
Or at least I try not to. Sometimes I take them off and put them right under my mic, and I'm like, they're gonna hear themselves now.
Yeah.
Alrighty, hold on. Did I have another story? I think I did. Okay. Hi, Georgian here. This is Jackie Boy 1105. I live at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, halfway in between Chattanooga, I might be saying that wrong, and I'm very sorry if I am, and Atlanta. And sometimes my family takes trips to the mountains. One day up there, me and my cousin wanted to go cruising around, just take in the views, and it was getting late, around 8, so we started to head back. Well, close back to our cabin, we see a deer on the side of the road, so we slow down. Then, as we get close, it walks in the road, pretty close to being dead, in front of us, so I hit the brakes, and then it stands up and starts walking around on its back legs. And now me and him are freaking out, because that's crazy. No duh. We've been out in nature with animals our whole lives. I grew up being a minute away from the Pine Mountains, out on the lake, but I've never seen anything like it. It just seems so wrong. Its joints didn't move right, and it had arms, not front legs. An upper half like a human, excluding the head. We gassed it around those mountain curves and just kept going. We didn't even want to stop at the cabin because we didn't want to stop moving. That is another common characteristic of the knot deer, is they don't have hooves in the front. They'll have paws or hands, human hands.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's an odd one, huh?
I haven't seen, and I'm hoping it stays that way.
Now, here's just a quick description of what knot deer act like or look like. This is from Tumblr.
Oh my god.
It
love
is
that.
in fact from Tumblr. It was linked on the Reddit thread I was reading, so.
Okay, that's fair.
So someone asks, what do you mean by that's not a deer in the mountains near you? Willow the Witch answered, anyone who spends decent amount of time in Appalachia knows the knot deer. If you've gone on the Blue Ridge Parkway at night, you've probably seen him. Now, keep in mind, if you don't live in an area with a lot of deer, deer are freaky bastards on their own. I know, we're friends with one.
Yeah. Hey! Hey!
You are a little freak. It's okay. We love you though. Don't bark at me.
I can't do deer noises. I don't know how to do deer noises. I'm being so honest.
I feel like they chirp. I'm not sure though.
They like scream, chirp.
But yeah, so normal deer. They're really big, extremely agile, and move surprisingly quietly, and are extremely durable. It's not unheard of for someone to hit a deer and total their car. Yeah, no duh. Once I heard a story of a man who hit a deer on accident and decided to take it home and at least get some good meat out of a bad situation. On the drive home, the deer woke up and absolutely shredded the inside of this man's trunk. They're very cute, but you definitely don't want to mess with one. Just keep that relationship in the back of your mind. Anyway, the knot deer is more or less what I'd call a folk cryptid. Everybody has their story about it. They're all somewhat similar. You're in a car at night in a rural, heavily wooded area, and probably a bit lost. It's not wildly uncommon to see an opossum crossing the road. See blips of little animals with your headlights. You see a deer, so you/your friends go, oh, deer, and slow down in case it leaps in front of you. Then you see it more clearly. There's just something wrong about it. There's something about its eyes. You feel your stomach get heavy like a rock, the hair on your neck raise. You sense intelligence that you shouldn't. It doesn't move like a deer. It moves like a, oh god, what is that thing? Whatever that thing is, it's not a deer, and we need to leave. You hit the gas and get the hell out of there. A group of my friends got lost on the parkway once and re-emerged with a chilling story. They aren't the kind of folks to lie or over-exaggerate. Among other freaky stuff that happened, the driver claimed she saw a deer in the road. Then she noticed the deer was on 2 legs. So yeah, they're creepy fuckers. They really are.
Yeah.
But there might be an actual explanation behind them. Sorry, I just turned off the audio on my headphones. I saw you guys light up and could not hear. It was very odd. But there is actually an explanation, potentially. So there is this disease called chronic wasting disease, and it's common in
Mhm.
deer. It's sometimes called the zombie deer disease. It would have been really funny if we made you a zombie deer and
Oh.
not Augusto being a zombie beaver.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we made you a vampire, but it's fine. um, but yes, it affects deer. It is, I'm not going to get into the sciencey part, but it is similar to mad cow disease. Um, and scrapie in sheep, never heard of that, but they're a natural infection causing CWD effects, which
Oh,
is
I
don't know.
remember people warning us in this area when that in because I am from North Carolina. What part? Good question. Um, but we do get warned when deers are starting to have that disease in this area because people go hunting here.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
I have never
Um,
seen one,
I'm pretty sure that
but
a
they
big
always warn us when the
yeah.
time starts, when
I'm
that
pretty sure a
happens.
big reason why it's very hard to get venison cooked right is because of all the diseases that deers can
Yes,
have
and
and
this is
stuff.
very common in deer.
Yeah, it is a very common disease. It's very common for deer to not be healthy, to have diseases. So if you're cooking venison, be careful. And yeah, I can't say jack shit about you eating venison because I eat
Ate it.
venison. Um, I eat it. Uh,
Cannibalism?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nom, 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 nom.
Someone get this guy his rabies shots for deers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so chronic wasting disease actually affects several different deer and other animals, surprisingly. It affects mule deer, white tailed deer, red deer, sika deer, elk, bison, squirrels, antelope, caribou, and moose. And it can actually transmit to other species like squirrel monkeys and humanized mice. So look out. um, but what are the symptoms of it? Sorry, I'm on a Wikipedia page, and these things are obnoxious sometimes.
Mhm.
um, yes, so hunters should avoid eating deer and elk tissues that are known to harbor CWD. By the way, um,
Yeah, that's why they give a warning when the season starts and they try to get people,
yes,
you know.
like they haven't done enough research to as to how possible it is to transmit CWD to humans, but just in case, be very careful about eating deer and
Mhm.
squirrels because they're part of them.
Yep.
Where? Okay, signs and symptoms. So it can
Just
take
be careful. Be careful in general eating anything you hunt.
yes,
Because it if it's not right, if it's not like in a farm, there's a good chance that it might have a disease. So
yes,
just generally be careful of what you eat.
And in a farm, it
Um,
can have a
yeah,
disease.
even in
yeah,
the
even in
farm,
farms.
but
Yeah,
there's even
but
more
I think it's
chance
more.
from the
Yeah,
wild.
there's even higher of a chance for it to be diseased if you're hunting it out in the wild.
Right, so it can take 18 to 24 months after the initial exposure for there to be any visible symptoms. So, it mostly occurs in adult animals. The youngest animal to exhibit clinical symptoms of the disease was 15 months. But I mean, it does take 18 to 24 months for symptoms to show, too. So, you know. It's progressive and always fatal. The first signs are difficulties in movement. The not deer tend to move weirdly. Not saying
Mhm.
that that's why, but that could be an explanation.
It could be.
Um, Very much could be. Most obvious and consistent clinical sign of CWD is weight loss over time. Behavioral changes also occur in the majority of cases, including decreased interactions with other animals, listlessness, lowering of the head, tremors, repetitive walking in set patterns, and nervousness. Excessive salivation and grinding of the teeth also are observed. Most deer show increased drinking and urination. The increased drinking and salivation may contribute to the spread of disease. Loss of fear of humans and appearance of confusion are also common. So this is a common thing that people think. may be the cause of the not deer. Also, people say elk. In regions where they're not familiar with elk, sometimes elk can be confused with deer, giving the but since they have different appearances and different size and different proportions, it can give the appearance of a deer that's not a deer. Once
Mhm.
again,
Mm.
not saying that this is the reason for the not deer. This is a folklore creature as well. But if you see a deer acting strangely, it is very likely CWD, chronic wasting disease. And you should
I
definitely
do
not
say
eat that
that
animal.
over here they ask for people to shoot those animals in the head because that's the
Yes.
only way you can actually kill them off when they
Yeah.
are with that disease.
They'll die on their own anyways. It is a fatal disease, but at least you'll put it out of its misery a bit quicker.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
as well as it won't spread the disease any further.
Yeah. But
Exactly.
yeah, that was my story about the not deer. They're kind of creepy. Strange.
Yeah.
I
A
may
little
have another
freaks.
story to tell later, but it's not about the not deer. Depends on how long the episode ends up being.
Now, I'm gonna let Ace go second.
Okay. Um. So I am. I my things I'm going to be reading straight off of some Reddit posts as well as the oh fuck as well as an article that I found if I get to the second one. But first, I'm gonna read stuff from this Reddit post of the Sutter children, and a couple of people's thoughts. I didn't really have time to actually go and research it.
I
If you get
wonder who
really
gave you
interested,
the idea.
yes, Tori gave it to me. If you are really interested in this, all of this, I would highly suggest that you do your own research because I didn't have time to do a lot of research. So all of this could potentially be incorrect. I don't know. It could be incorrect. It could be correct. Who knows? Um, you probably will.
Hmm.
So on this post, it's called the Sutter Children Disappearance, a 79-year-old mystery that still haunts us. Um, this is a case. This case is a perfect example of how sometimes the truth can be more terrifying than fiction. George and Jenny Sutter, the parents of 9, lived in West Virginia with their family. On Christmas Eve, a fire ravaged their home, and 5 of their children went missing. Despite thorough search, no bodies were ever found. Official investigation concluded that the fire was accidental, but many questions remain unanswered.
Sorry,
I
I
was
was
just
opening
literally
string
listening about
cheese.
this.
What?
I was opening
I know
string
about this
cheese.
case.
Yeah, it's a very popular case.
I was literally
Yeah.
listening about it the other day. Sorry, go on. I'll add anything I know.
Yeah. Let's break down these weird facts about the Sauter children's disappearance. One, no human remains were found. This is super weird because the fire was intense enough to burn the house to the ground. You'd expect to find some remains, even if they were just bones or ashes. But nope, nothing. Two, a stranger has was seen around the property that night. This is creepy because the Sutters lived in a pretty remote area. It's not like there were people walking around all the time. So who was the stranger and what were they doing there? The family received strange phone calls before the fire. Imagine getting weird phone calls with no one on the other end, or just strange noises. It's like something out of a horror movie. Did someone know what was going to happen that night? 4. Some believe that that the sil I don't know how to say it. SICILIAN. I don't know how to pronounce that. Mafia, that mafia, I don't know, was involved was involved. This might sound like a conspiracy theory, but there were rumors of mafia activity in the area around in that area at the time. Some think maybe the Sodders got caught up in something they didn't even know about. These facts just add to the mystery and make you wonder what really happened to the Sodder kids. It's like what are the chances of all of these weird things happening on the same night? 79 years later, the case remains unsolved. Theories range from accidental fire to intentional disappearance. What do you think happened to the Sutter children? And
Well,
then there are
there's
some comments on this, but I'll let you talk first.
there's another thing that they were trying to find the ladder because these kids were on the second floor.
Yes, the ladder
Um,
was missing or
wait,
something.
the ladder was missing and they found it later, like right by the river, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Which
Okay.
And
there was no reason for it to be by a river.
exactly.
Hmm. So this is a comment that somebody made, um, on this. Like, they replied to no human remains were found, and they go, a vertebrae was found, but the family dismissed it because they refused to believe the kids were killed. The fire also collapsed into the basement. They essentially poked the top layer of remains and didn't really dig further down. The father bulldozed the entire site to preserve it, so evidence was likely destroyed.
Why would you
Mm-hmm.
do that, though? Why would you bulldoze that and
Grief.
not look for any of the remains to at least know what happened to your kids?
Yeah, that's another weird
Yeah.
thing.
Like, I get grief, like,
Um.
you would want to get rid of it, but since there was nothing really found, you would probably
Mhm.
want to wait until that was thoroughly investigated.
Mhm. Yeah. Somebody also replied that this same person replied to the family received strange phone calls before the fire. It was Christmas Eve, and they received phone call. It was Christmas Eve, and they received phone calls from some drunks that misdialed. The female caller was located by police and confirmed that she was at a party the night of the fire. Okay, interesting.
I do remember
Um,
that it couldn't be electrical fire because they saw and everything was there was
mhm.
no like evidence of electricity burning. You
Yeah.
know, electrical fire is
Um,
different from arson fire.
Mm-hmm.
yes. Um, some believe the I'm just gonna say Sicilian mafia because I think that's how you pronounce it was involved. They're replying to that specific part again. This this is believed because the father was outspoken against the fascist government back home. Problem with this theory is World War II had been over and the fascist government was replaced months prior. One one of the daughters was downstairs asleep on the couch. Someone broke in and kidnapped a bunch of kids without her waking. Doubtful. The children probably died of smoke inhalation that night. They slept in the attic, and John told the police he was unable to wake them before leaving the house himself. This is not a mystery, but simply a tragedy. This is what this one person is saying about it. This is all that
Mhm.
they've said about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much any of this is true. Obviously, we're just going based off of that. Um, uh, Somebody then replied to this person about the human remains. The fire chief, however, did go out to the site and bury a big chunk of bloody raw meat and claimed it was a piece of the children and claimed he did it to help the parents believe they were all dead. This
Everything
is
about this is
What?
just
so
bizarre.
weird.
Every part
Yeah.
of this case is just bizarre. Like, yes, it could have been a tragedy, but even just the way it was handled is just bizarre.
Yeah. It's just such a weird case. I don't know much about it. Um, you guys obviously know more than I do. Um,
Even then, there's not much to know. It's so
No,
unsolved.
that's basically
yeah,
it.
Mm-hmm.
that's so
There's
it's
no
so
evidence
weird.
as to what happened to the kids other than that they died in the fire. And their remains weren't found, but even then, their
Yeah,
remains were not found.
yeah, God. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of people on this thread just talking about it. Um, and like I there's somebody who replied to Mercury Daydream, who was the one who I just read, saying, I think that part makes a weird kind of sense. This is the 40s. The chief probably knew them before the fire and professionally, he had to have some kind of guilt, unfounded, over the fact that the fire department couldn't respond sooner. 5 kids is a tremendous loss. The fire department and police seem to have no doubts over the kids dying. They asked the parents to preserve the scene not because it was a crime, but because they wanted to find the remains to bring closure to the family. They then struggled to deal with their grief-stricken parents, and wild rumors that appeared to be entirely unfounded. So it was logical to bury the meat. No, what? So was it logical to bury the meat? No. Would it? Would an illogical, desperate person think it was a kind gesture? Yes, I could see that. But it also
Yeah.
makes no sense at the same time.
Everything about it is just an odd case. Like,
It is.
odd in a way that it's not like, oh, it has to be this conspiracy. Odd in just like, it seems that it was
Mm-hmm.
very much mishandled by the parents,
Oh
the
yeah.
fire department,
By everybody.
everything. Yeah, by everybody. The ladder not being there and being by the river, that's odd.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
because why is the ladder by the river? What purpose does that have? Was there a building near the river that they would need a ladder for? Like, because otherwise, why would a ladder be near the river, you know? You need to prop a ladder up against something for it to be useful.
Yeah.
There's not much purpose
Like,
for it to be by a river.
yeah. Augusto, your turn.
Oh, your turn.
Yippee! So, because my thing is something we didn't have in the beginning, I have the thing of cults. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And this should be a cult that everybody has heard of, called Scientology.
A lot of
Scientology.
celebrities are part of it.
I
Hmm.
don't think I actually haven't heard of this. I'm being so honest. I don't pay attention to like celebrity
What?
stuff or anything.
The
I
this
don't.
is
I hear nothing about cults.
this is a pyramid scheme cult.
A what?
Pyramid scheme cult. Essentially,
Okay.
There was a South Park
more
episode
people
about
you invite.
Scientology.
Oh wait. I
Hmm?
might kind of know what you're talking about, but not super. Not
No,
a
it's
whole
fair.
lot.
So, Scientology. I'm reading this from a Reddit, a description of it because this actually is a good description. Um,
Mhm.
someone under the name Mikey Weasel wrote wrote this description, and it's a good, damn accurate description. Scientology is a cult started by L. Ram Hobard. I don't care if I pronounce that name wrong. It doesn't deserve my reading it properly. Pretty much as a pyramid scheme to make himself rich. It worked pretty effectively at that. It's horribly manipulative with blackmail, and it bakes into the teaching of the church to progress you to cleanse yourself of negative thoughts and energy by confessing to them in long recorded sessions. It repeatedly gone on attack, including a systematic harassment of journals, people who leave the church, and even government agencies like the IRS remove their taxes and status. And one that they want, apparently. So, these people have a city that they are trying to capture that they want, right? There is a city in
Mhm.
Florida named Clearwater. And Clearwater started, I'm gonna send this where you guys can see um how this started. It
Okay.
started
Can
with
you write down that
one
trigger?
huh?
I was asking Tori to write down a timestamp.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Hold up. Yep.
Okay. What were you saying about it?
Okay. Ready?
You can Continue.
Yep, go on.
You guys open up the
Yeah.
page? It's a good idea to open up the page.
Opening it.
The reason why I say this is because it shows you a description of how they have grabbed this property of this city. It started with one property, right?
Oh, that's a cool way to go
Okay.
about that. It highlights
That
it.
Mhm.
is so
A
cool.
hotel.
Oh my god.
This is why I said look at it. The hotel. And then they bought then the members started to buy property, right?
Oh my gosh.
And then 2017, it was controlled. They were starting to buy retail property.
Oh my
Then it
gosh.
doubled the church footprint in less than 3 years. And the impact is clearest in the heart of downtown. The thing is, this is affecting businesses that are originally there negatively because people are like, oh, this is the cultist town. When they are technically taking over the town, but there are still locals there. There's very little left that belongs to people who are not part of this church.
Yeah, wow.
That is so interesting.
A lot of
Yes.
it's focused on the outside of that border they drew too. Like that whole left side, there's a
Hmm.
bunch of remaining property.
There is.
It's
It's like
mainly
they're
the
trying to
center.
close in a singular area
Mm-hmm.
where they can then claim that area and then slowly spread out. That is the best way to claim an
That
area
is
quickly.
that's so interesting.
So, the thing about this church, it's taking like so many properties for the control of the city. And most of it is kind of a ghost town because of it. So local properties there are suffering. A lot of people don't go there. It's mostly people of the church.
That
The thing
is
about this church, they don't let people from the church interact with people outside the church. They have these people brainwashed. I was actually watching I'm gonna have to link this as well. Hold on. Let me pull up YouTube real quick.
Oh yeah,
Hold on.
Tom Cruise is a Scientologist, by the way.
Yep.
And John
that
Travolta.
makes
A lot of people are part of Scientology. Scientology is a pyramid scheme because it's like the more you pay, get more stuff, get to know more things. It's really weird because this person is somebody who escaped. They're someone who was transported from, I think it was a part of the UK to Florida to do things,
and I
right?
like how so it I like how they made sure that they weren't able to be seen who it is.
Yes, because then they would have actually
'Cause
attacked the person.
that
Um,
is really interesting.
there's another cult that I want to talk about because or but I'll talk about that later in a different episode. But this cult, this is one of the people who left Scientology. And they just went into detail on how they would sit you down, give you a book to read, basically try to brainwash you and use the lowest parts about yourself to make you feel like you shouldn't leave because one, they're going to fix you. How are you going to get fixed? They can help you. It's just going into the smaller things you don't like about yourself, your weakest points. They have you brainwashed. You cannot talk to your friends, family, none of that. Um, you barely get paid. You're one other thing is you're written as a volunteer. A bunch of recorded sessions to, that they don't give you. They record everything. So another thing is in this city, there's a bunch of cameras. Every like building that's owned by Scientology has cameras.
Mhm.
Um, or if I remember, another thing they said is they took this person's passport when they landed in Florida. They
Oh.
had them working over 80 hours a week. They
Oh
were
my god.
promised $200 per week. We're not given that. We're given under 5,000 a year. They only got 10 days off with the time they had with them. this person, when they had to leave, they had to go through a lengthy process through different people who put questions and reasons why you shouldn't leave until they got to the end, and they had to do paperwork, which they did not get a copy of for leaving. They hold you there basically like a captive. You're like their slave, mindless, brainwashed, and this pyramid scheme is only for the money, it seems like. But
Mhm.
the scary part is it's very much still growing today. And
Mhm.
there's I know because I think it's in LA that there's another one. I'm not sure. Hold on. Oh, let me fact check this before.
Let's not spread misinformation, or at least try our best not
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
one. There's one in LA. I remember seeing TikTok videos of a man preventing people to what's it called? Preventing to go in, telling them, "Hey, it's a cult. It's a cult in Spanish, English, and all that."
Mhm.
They have an official
Mhm.
website. You know what? Let's take a look at this.
This is
So there.
by the way, this is making me
Mhm.
wanna add, like, MLMs and pyramid schemes to, uh, the, wheel.
Do it. I have an aunt that was in one.
I've
What?
seen so
Oh
many
yeah.
videos.
It was one of the like
That's a story for
baby
another time.
MLMs though. It was like
The
it
interesting
was a
thing
makeup
is
one.
the one of LA, the Scientology of LA, apart from the pictures they show you, nobody really knows what it looks like inside. Once
So
you
weird.
enter, you can't really leave.
Damn.
That is
It's
so
very hard.
crazy.
Hmm. And it doesn't help that they're trying to take over Clearwater, and it's affecting all the neighboring businesses. And it's honestly really terrifying to think they are kind of trying to grab people and brainwash them.
Damn.
I
That was I really liked that graphic that the like
yeah,
article you
it
had. That was
yeah.
cool. That was a
Oh, I
cool
know.
way to show it.
Yeah, it's a really good way to show it because it's really hard to see exactly how things are or like
Hmm.
how much it is.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, these towns are empty, and all you see is people in suits, like very nicely dressed, walking around.
Also, yeah, there's a
It's
shit
kind of
ton of
creepy.
celebrities that are Scientologists or were born into Scientology,
Ugh.
Yeah.
and that's only the ones that are known.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know who else are in there.
Yeah.
I just found out an actress from. I started watching Yellow Jackets because it's on Netflix. One of the actresses in it was born into Scientology. She speaks against it now a bit, but she was a
Okay.
Scientologist. I was like, she looks
There's one.
familiar.
So it's saying it's the first Scientology city, which is a little terrifying. Keep in mind, everybody avoid that city if you don't want. So I'm gonna read directly. So Scientology says to have 10 million followers, but surveys and accounts from former members suggest there's no more than 30,000 worldwide, which is still insane. The church influence comes from an estimated 3 billion in cash and assets collected from its followers. I do remember another thing is from the video I watched that they make their followers pay a lot. Like if if they're not directly paying or working, if they're not directly working under them or like helping them quote unquote by recruiting people, they have to, pay them.
Wow.
Mhm.
It's visitors are just expected to stay in Scientology's hotels and eat at private church restaurants. That's kind of weird.
That was like a very isolated cult.
It is a very isolated cult.
More
Um,
so than some other cults were.
they are like very like what it seems very
Well, I hope they fail
restrictive
in taking Clearwater because fuck them. We
with
don't like
how they
cults
are
here.
and with how many people are like that are pretty rich are part of it. The scary part is they probably will succeed,
Yeah.
seeing how fast
Mhm.
and rapidly they have done it.
Oh yeah.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, guys. Don't drink it.
It's yeah, like another comment says, it's isolated and there's not a lot of people who are non-Scientologists in the area.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I also would not want to live in a town where there's a bunch of cult members. I would move probably.
Mhm.
They're gonna be a pest no matter what. Might as well get out of there. Well, you can.
And it doesn't help. Hold on. That it says here 73% of the property is tax exempt for religious
Ugh.
purposes. It doesn't help. That doesn't help.
No. It really doesn't.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, they are really trying to grab the city, is what it seems. And there's only a few they can't, like, a few properties they can't grab because it's government properties.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. God, that's
Yikes.
creepy. Insane.
Alright. Well, if we've wrapped up the cult, which we kind of fell down a rabbit hole
mhm.
before we recorded this episode because we were doing some research for our own stuff, and then we found something
Mm.
really interesting, and then we went further down that rabbit hole, and that led to that.
You know what's
There was a
funny?
lot.
So, the council from, like, the city hall, they wanted to stop the church from buying stuff, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was owned by the aquarium, right?
Mhm.
Clearwater. There was a 1.4-acre lot across the street from City Hall, adjacent to the 13-story Scientology religious retreat. It was owned by Clearwater Marine Aquarium. The church offered $15 million for the parcel, but instead the aquarium sold it to the city in April 2017 for a lot less, 4.25 million. I don't think people want them, but it is what's it called? Very it seems like they are really trying hard to get every property they can if they're willing to pay 15 million for that much.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty. Well, let's head back to Appalachia for a moment. Um,
Let's get out of Florida, guys. We don't want to
here,
be here.
please. Out of Florida. That is the worst place to be right now. Anyways, we're
Yeah.
gonna head back to Appalachia, specifically the Smoky Mountains region. And we are
Ooh.
going to talk briefly about the disappearance of Dennis Martin, who was a 6 year old, almost 7 year old boy who vanished in that region. I would like to clarify, I am mainly I'm going to pull pretty much everything I speak of from a news page because I don't want to talk conspiracy about a missing child. I think that's kind of in bad taste, and there is way too much conspiracy and just wild conspiracy about the disappearance of this child who most likely got lost and succumbed to the elements, not being abducted by a wild man, which is one of the stupid conspiracies that there is. This is a child, so we will speak respectfully. And I'm using a news source, which I think is the most verifiable source I could be using. There are also published FBI documents about his case now. They released that information. It has been over 54 years since his disappearance.
Mhm.
Anyways, alrighty. So, Dennis Lloyd Martin was just 6 years old, almost 7 years old, when he vanished in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Some people figured he was kidnapped, others reckoned he got lost and disoriented in the woods, and a select few imagined a fate far worse. To this day, nobody knows the truth. Oh, let me write down the timestamp. Sorry. Okay, we're good. uh, I wrote down when Augusto's ended, but I just wanted to more accurately go when this one started. Anyways, a few months ago, this article was written in 2023, but, I'm just going to read it the way it is. A few months ago, the Federal Bureau of Investigation publicly released Dennis Lloyd Martin's case file in its vault. It contains 133 pages of documentation. The FBI held those files for decades. They were released due to relentless, persistent FOIA requests placed by investigator and author Michael Bouchard, however you say it. This author said the FBI denied his FOIA request 3 times before releasing the information to the public in 2022. The FBI documentation provides new details to the mystery of the case. It began in the summer of 1969 in Spence Field on June 14th. I'm going to skip over some of the quotations that I don't think are so relevant, because it's kind of just people saying, like, oh, I can't believe he went missing. So he was on a list of the national database that keeps track of people missing across the country. He was one of the first names on it. And his name has not been taken off the list. According to the National Park Service incident report, Dennis was last spotted at 4:30 p.m. on the night of June 14th. He had been on a camping trip with the family for Father's Day weekend. He was wearing a red shirt. According to the incident report, Dennis had been playing a game of hide and seek. He was out of sight for just a few minutes. Minutes turned to hours. Spence Field is nestled just off the Appalachian Trail. Martin's family members hiked for miles in search of Dennis. By 8:30 p.m., those family members hiked 6 miles to the nearest ranger station in Cades Cove to alert authorities. That night, rain delayed the search efforts. The rain, I'm sure of it, made it harder to travel on foot. The people that were looking for remains or whatever was left, it makes it harder to track. Searchers from all over came in to help, both trained and untrained. MPS reports showed nearly every inch of the mile radius that Dennis vanished from had been walked by volunteers. At the peak of the search, 1,400 showed up to look for Dennis, the biggest national park search of all time. However, the number of people was detrimental to the effort. People learned that more resources isn't necessarily the right answer. So many people could trample over evidence and miss things that a more trained eye could have spotted. Hundreds of rescue crews, hikers clubs, Boy Scouts, sheriff's offices, firefighters, and community members showed up to help. The Red Cross provided food, helicopters, and canine units were deployed to search. The final cost of the search was $50,000, which was in 1969. With inflation rates in 2023, that would have been $415,000.
Oh my gosh.
By June 25th, 11 days later, the case expanded nationwide. There was a letter found from one of the Martin family members sent to Richard Nixon. That's how big we're talking. This wasn't just like a small case, this was a nationwide case. The FBI holds dozens of letters exchanged between the Martin family and other representatives pleading for federal help. The Martin family insisted the FBI step in to help with the investigation. However, the FBI said in the reports that it only steps in if there was proof of foul play. As it says, this is, as far as we're aware, this is just a case of a little boy who got lost playing hide and seek. A number of rumors started making the rounds as the days ticked by with no evidence. There were multiple theories, such as lost and disoriented, abduction, suspicious man, eaten by animals, serial killer, or mystery. The mystery theory supports the mystical unknown factors, which is very far-fetched. He also said, this is about the author again, he also said the serial killer theory was a common rumor. However, the FBI files proved this was not a viable theory. There was only one serial killer that was active, but that was after the case. That was after his disappearance, months after his disappearance. Taken by animals was much more likely. Semi-plausible, but not really, because, like, if something really big would have had to take them, that was a 6-year-old boy, not like an infant. He weighed about 55 pounds, the original, like, missing person flyer said. The FBI's records from the vault show a man at the search quickly became suspicious. That's where the suspicious man theory was born. If you look at everywhere, the suspicious man, even the U.S. Coast Guard Search and Rescue Guide under FBI and MPS reports they have this suspicious man. The author reached out to the man identified as the suspicious man. However, the name will not be released. The FBI established that this man had not been present in the park on the day of the disappearance, so that's a theory that is a no-go. Most plausible theories were of abduction or being lost in the mountains. If Dennis had been abducted, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released an age progression photo to show what Dennis would look like 50 years later. But, there was not enough evidence to prove that there was abduction. Which the FBI actually agrees with the author, saying in reports there has been absolutely nothing to indicate this occurred. In fact, the FBI repeatedly refused to get involved due to the lack of evidence of foul play. And as the author says, which this is a really good point, if you look at the woods, especially in that area, you could disappear within a couple footsteps and never be found. But yeah. Actually, his case changed a lot of things. Prior to his case, people were not familiar with really regimented search and rescue practices. So there was no systematic way of searching at that point, but now there is a more structured way of searching, so that is a good outcome of this case. But, yeah, so as I said, there's a lot of theories about this case, and some of them are just ridiculous. Like, there's this theory of him being kidnapped by a wild man. There is no evidence of there being wild men in the Smoky Mountain range. It's very likely, it's very easy to get lost if you step off the trail. There's so many cases where someone disappears and is found dead due to exposure to the elements because they stepped off of a trail. Yeah. So if you're ever hiking, please stay on the trail. Do not stray off of it.
As well as make sure always go hiking with someone.
Yes, he was playing hide and seek, so he was at the time alone hiding.
Yeah. Don't, like, especially if you're going anywhere, especially like the woods, just somewhere that there's a chance where you could get lost, make sure to have someone with you. And honestly, if you go hiking, I would probably suggest getting some sort of survival book to take with you, just in case you do get lost, so then you can survive for as long as possible, especially like books to identify berries and flowers and everything that you could find in the area that you're in, just to make sure that you don't eat something that could kill you if you need to survive on your own for a bit. Just ensuring that you are as safe as possible. That would be the smartest thing to do. And if you're with someone, if you get lost, don't go very far from where you got from when you realized you were lost, as long as you are safe. Because if you are staying still, you have a higher chance of being found.
Yeah. As I said, it's very easy to get lost. You can get very far from the trail without noticing. Other cases, there was a case of a lady who went hiking by herself. She was meeting up with her husband every once in a while. She was in her like 60s, I think. She stepped off the trail to go to the bathroom and was found very, very far away from the trail. So it is so easy to get lost, and you can get lost so quickly. So stay on the trail. You do not need to wander off to
That
pee.
yeah. Yeah,
Pee in the bush next to the
like,
trail. No
at
one's gonna care.
at the very at the very least, make sure you can still see the trail.
Yes.
If you
Keep
if
in
you get
eyesight
off of
the
the
entire
trail,
time.
like, yeah, do not go anywhere, like, and again, like, make sure you have things that you can, survive off of. Just always be prepared. If you're going hiking, make sure you have stuff on you in case you do get lost. Even though you hope you don't, make sure you have things on you. It's better to be safe than sorry. Um, Especially if you do get lost. Don't. My biggest thing is do not keep wandering.
No.
Don't keep wandering. The moment you realize you're lost, stay in the general vicinity of where you realized. Put something down to make sure you have a marker of where you are in case you do have to like walk away a little bit, and make sure you put markers so then you can get back to where you were. Even if it's a stick upright in the ground. Do something so then you can figure out where you're at and keep your bearings.
Yeah.
Um yeah.
But
Um
yeah, that was my second little
um
case.
yeah.
Well, that was been
I,
interesting.
yeah. I have another one. This one I'm
Oh,
going to be reading directly off of this article called The Disappearance of Mara Murray, a mystery that remains unsolved. This is a new article. It was published on August 1st of this year, by Robert Hunter. It will be linked in the description. All of the links to all of our stuff will be linked in the description.
Yes, if I
Um,
remember. Yes.
I will remind you. Um, and it's not a super long thing. The only reason it is as long as it is because of pictures. There's a bunch of pictures in it of her. So I'm gonna read it. Mara Murray, an American woman, went missing on the night of February 9th, 2004, following a car accident on Route 112 close to Woodsville, New Hampshire. Despite extensive efforts, her location or fate has yet to be discovered. The beginning. Mara Murray was a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, in 2004. She was born in Brockton, Massachusetts on May 4th, 1982, and grew up in Hanson, Massachusetts as of one of 5 children. She was described by her family as an overachiever that excelled both academically as a National Honor Society member and athletically, participating in several sports, including running and basketball. She had a signature smile and dimples that charmed everyone who knew her. Murray, Murray excelled in sports. Murray was a star athlete on the track at on the track team at Whitman Hanson Regional High School, where she finished her high school education. She got accepted into the United States military in West Point, New York. She studied chemical engineering for 3 semesters. She decided to transfer to the University of Massachusetts Amherst after her freshman year, where she pursued a nursing degree. What happened before she disappeared? Murray's life seemed to be normal and stable until the days leading up to her disappearance, when some strange and troubling events occurred. Murray was working at her on-campus security job on the night of February 5th, 2004, when she talked to her older sister Kathleen on the phone. They talked about Kathleen's problems with her fiance, who was also recovering from alcoholism. Murray suddenly broke down in tears around 10:30 p.m. while she was still on duty. Her supervisor found her at her desk, completely numb and silent. Interesting. Um, the suit The supervisor took Murray to her dorm room around 1:20 a.m. Ray only said 2 words when when asked what was wrong. My sister. Kathleen had left a rehab clinic that evening. Her fiance had taken her to a liquor store on their way home, which caused her to have an emotional breakdown. Murray was very close to her sister and was upset by the news. That's a dick thing of the
That
fiance to
is
do.
a terrible thing to do. Hey, I know you just got out of like rehab. Let's go to the liquor store. What the hell?
Yeah,
Wild.
yeah. Fred Murray, the father of Murray, came to Amherst on Saturday, February 7th. He and his daughter had dinner with one of her friends later. Ray borrowed her father's Toyota Corolla after dropping him off at his motel and went to a party in her dorm. She got to the party at 10:30 and left at 2:30 a.m. the next day, Sunday, February 8th. On her way back to the motel, she hit a guardrail on Route 9 in Hadley and damaged her father's car badly. The damage cost almost $10,000, about 15,500 in 2022. The
Oof.
police officer who came to the scene wrote an accident report, but there's no record of any field sobriety tests. Murray was taken to her father's motel room and stayed there the rest of the morning. On Sunday morning, Fred Murray found out his car insurance would cover the damage. He rented a car, drove Murray to the university, and headed to Connecticut. He called he called his daughter at 11:30 p.m. that night and told her to get the accident forms from the Registry of Motor Vehicles. They planned to talk again on Monday night to fill out the forms and finish the insurance claim over the phone. On February 9th, the day of her disappearance, Murray sent an email to her boyfriend, Roush, around 1 p.m. She wrote, "I love you more, stud. I got your messages, but honestly, I didn't feel like talking too much of anyone. I promised to call today, though." She said she also made a phone call to the Continuum Rental Agency in Bartlett, New Hampshire, where she and her family had vacationed in the past. She asked about the availability of a condo for the next week, but did not make a reservation. She also checked her voicemail, which was less recorded activity on her cell phone. Around 3:30 p.m., Murray emailed her professors and work supervisors and told them she would be away for a week due to a death in the family. She This was a lie, as no one in her family had died. She she then packed her car with some clothes, toiletries, textbook, and other items, including a stuffed monkey that Roush had given her as a gift. She also took out most of the money from her bank account, which was around $280, bought bought about $40 worth of alcohol from a liquor store. That she then left campus and headed north on Interstate 91. Her disappearance. Ray's car was found abandoned on Route 112 near Woodsville, New Hampshire, a village in the town of Haverhill, around 7 p.m. February 9th. A witness, Faith Westman, who lived near the crash site, said she heard a loud thump, saw a car facing the wrong way on the eastbound side of the road. She said she saw a person moving around inside the car but did not see anyone else. She called 911 and reported the accident. Another witness, Butch Atwood, who was a school bus driver, said he saw Murray's car as he was returning home from work. He said he stopped and offered her to help her, but she declined and asked him not to call the police. She said she had already called a AAA, which was also a lie. There was no cell phone reception in the area. Atwood said he noticed that Murray did not appear to be injured but seemed to be shaken up and cold. He said that he left her and drove to his nearby house where he called 911 from his landline. He said he could see Murray's car from his kitchen window but did not see her. The first police officer, Cecile, I think, Smith, arrived at the scene at 7:46 p.m. He said he found Murray's car locked and empty with minor damage to the front end and a cracked windshield. He said he saw a box uh he saw he saw a box of wine on the back seat and a red-stained driver's side door and ceiling. He also found Murray's belongings in the car, including her backpack, coat, gloves, and driver's license. He said he did not find her cell phone, credit cards, or keys. He said he searched the area around the car but did not find any footprints or signs of a struggle. He spoke He said he spoke to Westman and Atwood, who confirmed that they had seen Murray but did not know where she went. He said he issued a "be on the lookout" (BOLO) alert for Murray at 8:02 p.m. and requested assistance from other police departments and a canine unit. The search. The search for Murray continued throughout the night and the following days, but no trace of her was ever found. Inside her vehicle, Murray had packed clothing, toiletries, college textbooks, and birth control pills. When her dorm room was subsequently searched, campus police found that the majority of her belongings were packed in boxes, and the artwork that had been taken down from the walls. It remains uncertain whether Murray packed these items on the same day, but authorities stated that she had packed them sometime between Sunday night and Monday morning. Atop the boxes was a printed email addressed to Murray's boyfriend, which hinted at difficulties with their relationship. Interesting.
Hmm.
Before dawn on February 11th, Murray's father arrived in Haverhill during the search. A police dog traced the scent of one of Murray's gloves approximately 100 yards east of the location where her vehicle was found, but subsequently lost the trail. This led the police to speculate she might have left the area in another car. At 5 p.m., Murray's boyfriend and his parents arrived in Haverhill. The police questioned him privately, and the police later said that they believed Murray had come to the place to to play to the place and she left her car to run away or to kill herself. The police, the FBI, the New Hampshire Fish and Game Departure, and hundreds of volunteers combed the area around the crash site using dogs, helicopters, and thermal imaging. They also interviewed dozens of people who lived or worked in the area, but none of them reported seeing or hearing anything suspicious. They also checked by the nearby hotels, motels, and bus stations, but found no evidence that Murray had checked in or left the area. They also traced Murray's phone records, bank transactions, and online activity, but found no clues to her whereabouts or intentions have been found since.
Hmm.
That is an odd one.
That
I
is
mean,
another one.
it sounds like she was having some difficulties in her life and wanted to get away, but, like, it doesn't feel like she was going off to kill herself.
Yes.
With everything she
Like,
brought, the fact that she brought clothes, toiletries, it seems like she was just going
yeah.
on, she was just trying to get a break from
Yeah.
everything, not to kill herself.
Yeah, it didn't like with the fact that she also took all of the money out of her bank account. It seemed more like she was going to try to make a new identity or a new life for herself somewhere
Yeah,
else.
like maybe she was gonna switch colleges and stuff, you know. Like, I don't know. It's odd. I feel like maybe she got out of the car and was trying to go somewhere and maybe she got picked up by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like she wanted to. I don't feel like she wanted to die. But that is a
Yeah.
Absolutely
very
not.
odd
Not a lot
one.
of people do.
No. But it seems like it was just a hard time in her life. She was having difficulties with her boyfriend, difficulties with her sister.
Yeah.
Um, And
It's
yeah.
yeah, it really doesn't feel like she was going to kill herself based off of all of that, um and because you wouldn't take your clothes with you, any clothes or toiletries with you if you were planning to kill yourself, unless you were trying to go really far away, but at the same time that wouldn't make sense.
But
It
also
Um
to
wouldn't.
take almost all the money out of your bank account and like
yeah,
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense that she would have
weird.
killed herself. And I'm not gonna say this in the like, oh, she had so many accomplishments, she had a good life going. But just like it
No.
didn't seem.
Yeah, it just it's not her how she was acting before it. It's how she was acting leading up to the disappearance that
Mm-hmm.
is really confusing. It's I don't really like it does not seem like someone who would kill them try being going to kill themselves would have taken all of their money out of their bank account, all like a bunch of clothes, a bunch of toiletries, just things to go on vacation with.
Yes, and like okay, so she
Before
took almost $280 out. She spent 40 of that on
she took all
alcohol.
of her
Yes,
money.
she spent $40 on alcohol, and then so she still had almost like $240. That would
Yeah,
possibly be enough to, get a hotel room, something like that.
yeah.
Not like I don't know. It's just odd.
It's so weird. Um, there are like this was I found this through a Reddit post. And I'm gonna send the link to the Reddit post as well, but I'm gonna also read some of the comments that people made about it. Um, this person like goes, MM fled the crash scene because she had been drinking in into the snowy winter woods and perished that night. Why she was she in New Hampshire? Who knows? We never will. Probably headed to to the place she and her family used to go hiking, but she got lost and or just needed to be alone. And here we are many years later. She had done risky things in the past, stealing from Fort Knox, using stolen credit cards. This drive was possibly just a reaction to the stressful situation in her life.
Yeah,
One
that's
day,
what I'm
one day
saying.
she will be found. It's sad. I feel for her family, but but also there would be no footprints in the snow because they didn't start the search for her until the next day. Ellie, Ellie messed this up. Somebody replied to that saying, "I think Mara was drunk, stressed, and wandered off into the woods after the car accident. No one else has ever reported seeing another person in the car or in the area where she was last seen. There was a house on the road where her car was, and they didn't say they saw anyone with her. I don't believe anyone abducted her because there's zero proof, no footprints, no tire tracks, nothing. Her remains haven't been found because they were likely scattered by the weather or animals." Which, yeah, that would also make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
Like,
also makes sense
genuinely,
as to the case I talked about, how like
yeah,
nothing's been found of
it's
him, likely animals.
yeah, it's likely just a bunch of different things, but just a bunch of different weird things that have happened one after another. It's probably just she wandered off, trying to de-stress, trying to do something to clear her mind from her sister having been basically forced to relapse, her relationship issues, stress with college because college is stressful in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and I 100% agree with those theories because there's good I genuinely it does not seem like this is a type how somebody who would be trying to kill themselves would have acted.
And it doesn't feel like a foul play case. It just feels like an unfortunate string of events that led to her disappearance.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely. And, like, the red stains in the car. There was wine in the car. It could have been a red
Yeah.
wine spill.
Yeah.
I don't think it
really
was
could've
ever mentioned if they tested it, but it was most likely red wine, not blood.
It wasn't mentioned anything about
Then
that.
it likely was irrelevant. It was likely tested
Yeah.
and proven to be red wine or something else.
It was, yeah, because, yeah, we already know that she bought $40 worth of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a thing of, yeah, there's not really much you can say about it aside from, it's probably from that, from her just wandering off and getting lost and then getting into coming to the elements.
Nope.
Especially in winter.
Yeah.
This is in February, so it's in, like, winter is, like,
February
still strong.
is pretty damn cold, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cold, chilly.
But yeah, that was our discussion for today. There was not really a clear-cut topic.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
It's just fascinating. Yeah.
I don't know what we're gonna title this one.
Well, we can just title it we can just title it the Halloween special.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm gonna spin the wheel for next week.
Ooh,
Because
we haven't done that.
Please be dreams. Give me dreams and my life is yours.
Streaming services.
Yeah.
God fucking damn it.
We're almost 20 episodes in, still have not rolled for dreams.
I'm about to make an executive force that we get dreams. Please. Please.
Oh my gosh.
What did I say the 20th episode would be? 20th episode's gonna be special. I don't remember what. Oh, we're not gonna talk about it on here right now, but.
Wait, what number is this?
This is 19. Oh shit, that's next episode. Just kidding!
Never mind. Next week's topic is not streaming services.
Yeah, Augusto, you were asleep when we discussed this.
You discussed this while I was asleep?
Well, we removed you from the call first, but yeah.
I think I spelled services wrong, but it's fine. Because I had to edit back to the wheel.
I can't believe you've done this. And y'all didn't say anything about it in the group chat?
It's in the group chat. It is actually. There's a photo of a piece of paper.
Where the
Yes.
Where
the fuck is it in the group chat?
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of...
Please stay on the path when you exit the grove. It is to your left. You'll see it. It is a dirt path. Stay on the path. I cannot guarantee that Augusto will not eat your brains.
Also, don't forget to like and subscribe because we should probably start doing that. Because we are just a small little group of people and we hope that you guys enjoy these episodes. We decided to do them just for our own fun and we hope that other people enjoy them. Don't get lost in the grove.
Once again, stay on the path. We're not responsible for if your brain gets eaten if you get lost.
I've been Ace.
I've been Tori. It's turning into a repeat of the last one.
Augusto.
Awkward silence up to Augusto.
Alright, well, goodbye. Get out of here. Do not get lost. And be careful when you're hiking or out in the woods.
Don't be stupid.
Genuinely.
Don't be stupid.
Be careful. We don't
I
want
can't believe I missed the last part of the notes on that notes image you sent. I read everything in the beginning, but the last bit.
Well, next week, special episode. Look out for it. Yeah. Bye. Leave.
We're gonna do something special.
I'm gonna sick ace on you if you don't leave.
Huh?
Blah, blah, blah.